Good for you. I call this meeting of the Northeast Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. This board will now adjourn into executive session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act. Texas Government Code Section 551.071, private consultation with the board's attorney, 551.072, discussing purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, 551.074, to discuss personnel or to hear complaints against personnel. The time is 5:31. The board will now reconvene into open session. The time is 6:40. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I would like to welcome all of you to this evening's meeting of the Northeast Independent School District School Board. This is a meeting of the board held in public. We appreciate your attendance and request your respectful attention. We welcome your comments during the Matters from the Floor section of the agenda. If you have signed up to address a specific action agenda item, you will be called at that time. Finally, I would like to remind you that it is the mission of Northeast to challenge and encourage each student to achieve and demonstrate academic excellence, technical skills, and responsible citizenship. Next item.
5, Invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. A, Wood Middle School. Christine Loack, Principal.
Good evening.
Hello, Ms. Loack. Good evening.
How's it going?
It's nice to see you here.
Nice to see you. Madam President, members of the Board of Trustees, Dr. Gotardi, executive staff, and guests. It is my pleasure to present 2 wonderful students from Wood Middle School. This evening, Jaden DeBravo, an 8th grader, will lead us in the inspirational thought. He is joined by his mother, Bonnie DeBravo. Jaden is an 8th grader and an AB honor roll student taking every pre-AP class possible. He is also one of our 8th grade athletes and a standout in our theater arts program. Last year, he was named to the all-star cast at the District UIL One Act, and this year he was part of the team that brought home a first place in the One Act play. Next year, he will be attending ETA Magnet program. Kai Henderson, a 7th grader, will lead us in the pledges of allegiance to our nation's flag and the Texas flag. She is joined by her parents, Alfred Henderson and Koswana Cardoza. Also, her younger sister, Alessiana Henderson, is here as well. Kai has maintained an all-A average again this year, once again with all pre-AP classes, while also being in our AVID program and a student athlete. She was a member of the volleyball and basketball teams and is currently running track, so she is a triple threat for us. And at this time, I would like to bring my students up to the front and ask that everyone in the audience please stand.
We have 86,400 seconds in a day. We sleep 34,200 seconds in an 8-hour sleeping period. Our teachers spend 34,000 seconds of the day working and have 23,400 seconds left of free time in their days. Our teachers give up so much time for our students. Our teachers choose to stay even after 4:15 to help the students with tutoring, homework, electives, etc. The students, including myself, know that the teachers are there for us and are there to help us. Our teachers encourage us and push us hard every day, because if you do what you already can do, you won't get any better. Our teachers come to work every day, even if they're not feeling good. They come knowing they're going to have to put up with rude and disrespectful students. They show up because they really care about us, students and people. And I can give an example on how they care about us, because our theater teacher, Miss Jones, gave up so much time for us in the one-act play. She pushed us really hard, practicing from 3:30 to 5:30 every day, and we even practiced on a Saturday for 8 hours. Sounds kind of hard, but we trusted her, and look where it got us. We came first place for the very first time in the one-act play. But it doesn't end there. She stays until 5 o'clock every day after school, and we can even come before school so we can stay and practice for the spring speech competition. All of our teachers wanted us to succeed. They make a good impact in our life, and it really wouldn't be the same without our teachers. They make us feel really confident because they motivate us and shape us into good students and people. They really spend time to make good relationships with the students and even help us in our personal lives, like giving advice. They care about our futures and where we go in life. Instead of telling us that our big dreams will never come true, they tell us that the only person that can stop us is ourselves. We are the biggest obstacle in life. My teachers are why I believe in my future and know that I can reach for the stars. My education wouldn't be the same without my teachers. I wouldn't be the same person without my teachers.
Please follow along with the flags. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Jordan and Kai, can you all come to the podium, please? So just a few questions. After Mrs. Grona gives you your certificate of appreciation and thank you for being here. And we'll get a picture of Mrs. Loack. Come up for the photograph. How about a photograph here in front? The two students front and center. Yeah, lots of instructions, like the teachers. Yes. And we'll wait for Dr. Gotardi to be in the photograph. So Jordan and Kai. Jordan, did you calculate all the minutes in the day? I mean, Jaden, did you calculate the minutes in the day? Did you do all that arithmetic? Very impressive. And so I would like to say that you gave a beautiful testimony as to what the impact a teacher can have on a person, and there will not be obstacles for you. You just have to keep going and keep looking for those good teachers because they're everywhere. And so if there are any teachers in the audience, please stand. I mean it, or what once teacher. And is your one-act teacher here, your theater teacher?
No.
She's not here. Does she know what you've said about her?
Yeah, she actually helped me with the speech. A little bit.
You're not supposed to say that part. Well, that is, I would be so proud if I were her. And so
She
you
didn't tell
just,
me to write that. Don't-
oh, she didn't tell you to write that part? No. Did your math teacher help you with the minutes?
No,
Okay, good.
Siri did.
You did a great job. Siri did? Oh, my goodness. Well, that's why we embrace new technology. Okay, you're going to do very well. I'm not worried about you in the least. And Kai, what about you? Kai, so tell us a little bit about you. You do 3 sports. You're a triple threat, she says. So what's your favorite?
Volleyball.
Volleyball. So next year, district champs?
Hopefully.
Well, you were just precious, and we're glad you're here, and you did a beautiful job leading us in the pledge.
Thank you.
And to the parents, aren't you so proud of your children? And where does your little sister go to school?
Ridgeview.
Ridgeview. Well, good. Well, she's really cute, too. So congratulations, and again, to the parents, thank you for being part of Northeast, and we're always here and for all of you, and so really just, I'm sure you're beaming with pride. And Ms. Loack, thank you very much. Yes, and if you'd like to go home, you're welcome to. You can stay, but it's up to you. You can go ask Siri some more questions. That was really good. Thank you. Oh, yeah, we've got, yes, you better go home. Next item.
6, matters from executive session. A, personnel including but not limited to administrative appointments pursuant to Government Code Section 551.074. 1, possible action regarding routine personnel, including but not limited to administrative appointments.
Thank you, Mrs. Huey. Do I have a motion to approve the hiring of new personnel as presented?
I move that we approve personnel as presented in closed
I
session.
thought we had,
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Mrs. Perkins, I apologize.
Yes.
There is no action.
Oh, no action.
They were just introductions. No, they were just, I
Oh,
looked at
just
the list.
introduction.
So forgive me for that. Dr. Gotardi, would you like to make introductions?
Thank you, Madam President, board members, ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor this evening to introduce some new personnel to the school district in new positions. First and foremost, we have our Executive Director of Technology Services, Mr. Tom Johnson. Tom joined the Northeast family in 2006. Prior to being named the Executive Director for Technology Services, he was the Senior Director for Technology Services. Mr. Johnson received a bachelor's degree in interdisciplinary studies in 1994 from Stephen F. Austin State University, and he earned a master's degree in Information Systems Security in 2005 from Colorado Technical University. Mr. Johnson has 11 years in education. Congratulations, Tom. We have a new assistant principal at Lee High School, Sarah Hinojosa. Before being named assistant principal at Lee, Sarah was a teacher at Lee. Ms. Hinojosa received a bachelor's degree in political science in 2004 and earned a master's degree in educational leadership in 2014, both from the University of Texas at San Antonio. She joined the Northeast family in 2007. Ms. Hinojosa has 7 years in education. Congratulations. We have a new head coach and athletic coordinator at Madison High School, Coach John Campbell.
Wow.
John is joining the Northeast family as the head coach, athletic coordinator at Madison High School. Before joining Northeast School District, he was the assistant head coach, linebackers for Texas A&M University in Commerce. Mr. Campbell received a bachelor's degree in managerial studies in 1994 from Rice University. Additionally, he earned a master's degree in educational administration in 2004 from Texas A&M University in Kingsville. Mr. Campbell has 20 years in education. Congratulations and welcome, John. We have a new assistant principal of the Alternative Middle School, Mr. Michael Barrera. Michael is joining the Northeast family as the assistant principal at the Alternative Middle School. Before joining Northeast School District, he was the assistant principal at West Oso High School in Corpus Christi, Texas. Mr. Barrera received a bachelor's degree in kinesiology in 2001, and he earned a master's degree in educational administration in 2011, both from Texas A&M University in Kingsville. Mr. Barrera has 11 years in education. Congratulations, Michael, and welcome. We have a new assistant principal of Canyon Ridge Elementary School, Sandra Van Horn. Sandra joined the Northeast family in 2006. Prior to being named the assistant principal at Canyon Ridge, she was a science instructional specialist for school improvement. Ms. Van Horn received a bachelor's degree in interdisciplinary studies in 2005, and she earned a master's degree in educational leadership in 2015, both from the University of Texas at San Antonio. Ms. Van Horn has 9 years in education. Congratulations and welcome. And finally, we have a new assistant principal of Hidden Forest Elementary School, Renette Powell. Before joining Northeast School District, she was a teacher at James Carson Elementary in Northside Independent School District. Ms. Powell received a bachelor's degree in Human Services, Criminal Justice in 2001 from Wayland Baptist University. Ms. Powell earned a master's degree in Business Organizational Management in 2005 from Webster University. Ms. Powell has 8 years in education. Congratulations, Renette, and welcome. Madam President, board members, we also have a few of the Boy Scouts in attendance this afternoon. I would ask that they stand as I call their name. From Tex Hill Middle School, we have Carson Payne and Preston Payne. They're both here tonight for their citizenship in community and communications. Fellows, we appreciate you being here and welcome to our school board meeting tonight. Thank you. Madam President, that concludes all of our introductions.
Thank you, Dr. Gotardi, and we'd like to congratulate each and every one of you. Mr. Johnson, what are you going to do about that cereal? You've got to try and capitalize on that. Isn't that a fantastic thing? And to our new coach, no pressure, but we love high school football. He's just smiling, as you should be. Congratulations, and we're really excited. And you'll see some of us at the games. We love going, and we love what you do for our, more importantly, what you do for those kids. And they look up to you, and your job is so vital to those young men. So I know you know that. And to the others, to Mr. Barrera, Ms. Van Horn, Ms. Powell, and Ms. Hinojosa, congratulations, and we applaud you as a board for what you are doing and for your promotion. And please keep in mind that families depend on you. They defer to you for your assistance and help to all of you, and you have extremely important jobs. And I hope you'll take as much pride in Northeast as we do. I know you will. So congratulations. Next item.
B, possible action on the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property pursuant to Government Code Section 551.072.
No action.
C, possible action regarding consultation with board's attorney pursuant to Government Code Section 551.071, 1, pending or possible litigation.
No action.
7, new business for possible board action. A, board policies. 1, possible action regarding Board Policy Update 103, second and final reading.
Okay, thank you, Sandy. And this goes to Ms. King. Yes,
Dr. Gotardi and executive staff,
speaking to, yes.
we're
thank you.
bringing to you the second and final reading of Update 103 for approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Any questions from our board?
Yeah, quick question on this.
Mr. Weed?
This is one where we're talking about people's rights to carry guns on the school campuses. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's part of the
Mr. Clary,
policy?
could you, yep.
It's part of the policy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What clarification, and I'm sorry, if Wally needs to come up, we can do that, but I would like clarification as to when somebody can carry a gun onto campus, when they cannot, and just to make this clear for the board members and for others, that although there's been legislation passed, that we are not looking for somebody to carry a gun onto campus.
Chief? Go ahead.
Mr. Wheat, yeah, it's
Yeah.
basically what it is nothing as far as the school district has changed. All the rules that were in place prior to the open carry is still in place today. The only exception is it's always been legal for them to be in our parking lots as a concealed, but now they can be actually open carry within our parking lots. They still cannot go into the buildings. They still cannot go to any athletic events, and they still cannot carry, whether it's concealed or open, in any district-sponsored activity, whether it's in a parking lot, at another facility outside of Northeast School District.
Okay, so there are limitations on it.
Yes, I mean, the law, it just has not changed as far as school districts, except for all the rights as far as concealed in parking lots, they can now open carry in the parking lots. We as a district, and that's something that we're in discussion right now, is whether or not the new criminal trespass 3007 can be applied to parking lots, and that was one of the, I think, Houston representatives sent for the Attorney General's opinion on that.
Okay, and that's all part of this policy right here?
That's correct.
Okay, because if we don't have it in the policy, we can't exclude somebody from being at, for instance, athletic events, right?
Yes, under the penal code, it prevents them from going inside of athletic events for concealed or open carry.
Okay, but we have that in the policy, right?
I don't know if the policy includes what the penal code is. I mean, it's subject to, the current penal code that's in existence.
I hate to be strict about that since I'm somebody that works in the DA's office. But
Because in places weapons are prohibited under the penal code, addresses the athletic events for collegiate, high school, and any other.
I think it is.
So we're good on that?
Correct.
Okay,
I think it is illegal.
Right, it's in our legal policy.
okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Additional questions? Thank you, Chief McCampbell. Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the second and final reading of attached local policies included in Update 103?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Grona. Thank you, Mrs. Wolf. Additional questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries. Next item.
2, possible action regarding board policy FFA local, first reading.
Mr. Clary.
Madam President, this is, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Gotardi, executive staff, and guests, this is the first reading for FFA local. And really, a lot of the recommendations from TASB have been related to a lot of housekeeping as far as the policy goes, a lot of cleanup of the policy. But there's one, really, there's only one new content to the policy, and that is in reference to restricting the advertising of food and beverage during the school day to only products that meet the federal guidelines for meals and competitive foods. In other words, if we have a vending machine at our campus that the students use, which we do now, and ours meet this regulation because the advertising on those machines are bottled water. You know, we couldn't have like Coke as advertising on that machine. So that's the only new content to the policy. And like I said, this is first reading.
Any questions for Mr. Clary? Mr. Clary, what about that one clause that talks about implementation, how each campus principal is responsible for the implementation of this? Is that anything, I tried to kind of correlate it to some of the other prior policy, and it just seems like it was giving or announcing a designee, so to speak.
You know, the principals have always been responsible
Okay.
for ensuring that this policy is followed because they are the leader of that
Sure.
campus. So it's really just making sure and designating that person, that the principal is the designee for that on the campus.
Great.
For the policy.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the first reading of attached FFA local policies as presented?
So move.
Thank you, Mrs. Wolf. Do you have a second?
Second.
Mr. White, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries. Next item.
3, possible action regarding board policy CCA local, revised, second and final reading.
Thank you, Mrs. Huey. Mr. Villarreal, this is
Yes, Madam
yours.
President, members of the board, Dr. Gotardi, executive staff, and guests. This is the second reading having to do with our commercial paper program that we're going to ask for approval later
Yes.
on in the agenda.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Villarreal? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the second and final reading of the revisions to board policy CCA local?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Perkins. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Grona. Any additional points, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries. Next item.
4, possible action regarding board policy CB local, second and final reading.
Okay, Mr. Villarreal once again.
Yes, Madam President, this is the second reading and final reading, hopefully, for the new Edgar rules that we have to follow. And it's just an addition to, or adding those specific requirements.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any questions for Mr. Villarreal? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve CB local second and final reading?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Grona, and Mrs. Perkins, you can be the second. Thank you very much. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries. Next item.
B, instruction. 1, possible action regarding 2016-2017 pre-kindergarten waiver.
Thank you, Mrs. Huey. Dr. Dow.
Madam President, trustees, Dr. Gotardi, executive staff, and guests, we are, with this, simply asking TEA to grant a one-time waiver regarding the number of minutes for our pre-kindergarten program, and Colleen Borman, executive director, is here to answer any questions should you have any.
Hello.
Good evening.
Do we have any questions for Mrs. Borman?
Nope, I get it.
I did.
Okay,
Let me
Mrs.
get to
Huey?
that page. Hang on just a second.
Yeah, no, I've kind of lost.
Had to stop and
35?
convert minutes, to
Yes.
days. I mean, thank you very
Yes.
much to the state for changing that for me.
Mm-hmm.
Is the 3 hour, so we do 3 hours instead of 3.5.
Correct.
Will we be going to 3.5 hours?
We hope not to, but for next year, we have a pass.
Right.
And so if the legislature does not come back or TA does not come back, we will just stay at 3 hours. We will be looking at 3.5, just in case. If you approve this, we'll go back and look at 3.5. But it really deals with a lot of different departments.
The
if we
logistics
move
is
the
what I was thinking of,
logistics of it
yeah.
all.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
so
What's the norm for other districts? Do you know? Are we kind of on track with others?
we're on
Is
track with
everyone-
others, and
Okay.
that's exactly why TEA gave a permission, pretty much a free waiver for this upcoming year, is because most of the school districts are offering 3 hours.
What's the advantage of 3.5?
Yeah.
More instructional
Just more
time.
time.
More instructional time,
So that was
absolutely.
strictly their intent, more instructional time?
I honestly don't think that, with this minutes bill,
Yeah.
I think there were a lot of unintended consequences, that once it got to the application level, that a lot of the school, we are all kind of working through it. And so there were a lot of unintended consequences for school districts, and so,
Kind of the half of
This is
7
one of them.
type of thing or something? They didn't-
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know we still don't know why they did the whole minutes thing anyway. Yeah, and I'm assuming that if we do have to go to another half hour, which, would be great, if they funded it, I'm certain they're not going to be funding that.
our
Extra
ADA
30?
will remain the same.
Yep, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Quick
Mr.
question.
Yes.
This funding is from the state, not from the city, right?
Correct, from the state. This is our
Okay.
half-day program.
So this is not pre-K for SA?
No,
This is completely separate?
correct.
Pre-K for SA is something that operates on a different budget?
Correct.
Okay. So when we talk about this budget, this is the state giving us a little bit more money, maybe.
If we go to 3.5 hours, there will not be any additional funds.
Okay.
Our ADA will remain the same because it's considered a half-day, and they fund us at a half-day. Whether we call it 3 hours or 3.5 hours, we're still funded at half-day rate.
So
Okay.
one would think that there would be evidence to support and substantiate the 30 minutes, and that evidence would indicate higher knowledge, better preparation, but none of that exists. Oh, goodness gracious.
Excuse me, Ms. Bresnahan.
Sorry.
I was asking questions.
Oh, you were. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt.
I'm sorry.
So as far as the pre-K for SA, there were supposed to be grants. Are there grants that are available for us that we can use, or are those not available? Or do you know?
Yes, I do know. Okay. We had the opportunity to apply for pre-K for SA grants. Some of you may or may not know that it's $4.2 million that the city will be providing to school districts, daycare centers. Northeast put their application in. We did receive an initial approval. We will have final approval on April 5th. And so we're hoping to see a substantial amount of money coming from our pre-K for SA grant.
Yeah, I'm sorry to ask about that exactly, because I seem to remember much bigger numbers back when the vote was going through. Do you recall what estimates we had at that point or not?
I don't recall the amount that they had decided on the grant amount. I do not know that.
Okay, because 4.2 million split among the city is really, I hate to say that, it's not that much. And so I'm wondering if it's worth our time. Do you think it's worth our time to put in for these kind of grants?
To put our time in to receive the grant, we feel yes, because we could look at almost $1 million grant is what what we've applied for is almost $1 million grant.
And that would be all for pre-K?
all for pre-K, and it's 1 year. So that $1 million would be for 1 year.
And what kind of, sort of follow-through do we have with that? The idea that they would follow through for the next year with $1 million.
That's part of the MOU, is that they would be releasing grants to us every year. And so our plan would be to continue to apply for that grant every single year it's open to us.
But it's not required that they would follow through with that, right?
Our understanding in the MOU that it is guaranteed, that
Okay.
they will,
It's actually stipulated in the MOU that beginning with year 4 and each year after that, they will have to make ready grants that school districts, daycare centers can apply for. And as Mrs. Borman has already mentioned, $4.2 million for the entire city, and the Northeast ISD is going to receive somewhere pretty close to $1 million for this first year. We feel very good about that.
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Mrs. Borman. Any additional questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the submission of the 2016-2017 pre-kindergarten waiver to TEA?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Perkins. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Wolf. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries. Mrs. Borman, thank you for being so succinct in your answers.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next item.
C, Business Services. 1, possible action regarding consideration and approval of an order authorizing and establishing a commercial paper program.
Mr. Villarreal.
Yes, Madam President. This is the order authorizing us to be able to participate in a commercial paper program. Jeff Kuhn, our bond counsel, is here. And so are our financial advisors, Raul Villaseñor and Ricardo Villaseñor. And if there's any detailed questions, we're glad to answer them. And Brian Moy, our Executive Director of Accounting, is also here to answer any questions if
Okay.
there's some.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions for Mr. Villarreal, Mr. Moy?
Yes, I did.
Mrs. Huey?
Yes, in the beginning of our summary here, it was talking about Amegy Bank was going to be the issuer, but later on it talks about U.S. Bank National Association of Dallas.
Mr. Moy?
So
Yes, ma'am.
I checked, I didn't think they were the same banks.
No, they are not. And
Okay.
the revised attachment was emailed out late this afternoon, and I believe that the version that is ready for your wet signature when you get back after the meeting has the correct
Okay,
wording
and
on it.
it will
Yeah,
say
the-
Amegy?
Yes, the first draft was incorrect, but the new draft has come out.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adopt an order authorizing the establishment of Northeast Independent School District Commercial Paper Program, the issuance of notes from time to time thereunder, and execution of a credit agreement in connection therewith?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Grona. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Perkins. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries. Next item.
D, Operations. 1, possible action regarding 2015 bond program, Garner Middle School, campus replacement Phase 4 project, schematic design approval.
Mr. Clary.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Gotardi, executive staff, and guests, Mr. Sullivan is at the podium to make this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Clary. Good evening, members of the board. Tonight I'll be providing the schematic design presentation for the Garner Middle School Campus Replacement Project Phase 4. This is the design team that has been organized for the project, and at this point I'd like to make a few introductions. With us this evening is Mr. James Davis, principal partner with Garza Bomberger and Associates, our project architect, and the project architect Gabriela Rodriguez. Both of them were involved in the Garner Middle School Phase 3 project, which is just completing this past month. I'd also like to recognize Mr. David Crow, the principal of Garner Middle School. Mr. Crow has been instrumental and has been participating in all of the schematic design reviews helping to guide the design team and our staff in terms of the best applications for how the new project fits within its campus infrastructure and our phased approach. So thanks for Mr. Crow being here. This is an existing site aerial of Garner Middle School. You'll notice in the background the new 3-story classroom addition, which essentially replicates the classroom houses, the exact same design approach that was used for the classroom houses at Tex Hill Middle School, our newest middle school campus. Each of the 3 buildings represents the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade house, all connected together with interior corridors and lockers. And this is a huge transformation for the campus, which has, since the 1960s, been an open-air breezeway, connected series of buildings with lockers that are essentially outside and just covered by a covered walkway. So when you walk out of a classroom at Garner Middle School, you are actually outside until you get into your next room. Whether it's a hot day or a cold day, you're going essentially from inside to outside to inside throughout your day. So this is going to be a huge step forward for the campus as they occupy this new building for the new school year. I'd like to point out in this picture that on the far right, upper right, you have the new science building. That was part of the 2003 bond program, which Garza Bomberg was the project architect for. We have the new athletics facility complex, which is next to the football field, and they represent the bookends for the campus, and then nestled in between those 2 facilities is our new main academic building. And now that brings us to the 2015 bond. And you can see what's left in front of those brand new facilities is the old Garner Middle School campus, and that's going to be our task in the next bond, is to slice and dice up that facility, keeping part of it in operation for the next bond, the 2020 plus bond, while we build the 2015 bond program. It's going to take us 2 more bonds to finish Garner and do the complete master plan, redevelopment, and replacement. So this is the 4th of 5 bond programs to replace this campus. There are 3 portable buildings, and you'll notice those are in the bottom right-hand portion of the campus. Those are all going to be moved away this coming summer. They're all access to the campus program because Mr. Crow will be using the new academic building to conduct all of his academic classes, including what's in these portables. And that's essentially going to be the contractor staging area for the new bond project. We'll be right there where the portables currently reside. The new bond program includes a new library and distance learning lab, which are adjoining spaces, a complete new fine arts program, band, orchestra, choir, and theater arts with the Black Box Theater. 2 art classrooms with a kiln room are included as a project alternate, and if the bids are sufficient enough, we'll build the art rooms in this bond, and if not, they'll be part of the next bond. We have a career and technology, family and consumer science lab. There are 2 main CTE labs in a middle school. This is one of them where they teach the students how to cook and to sew. We have a new kitchen and cafeteria with outdoor dining area. And then in order to support this phased approach, since you can see what's left is really all contiguous contained spaces, we're going to have to do some renovation, new construction, or renovation, demolition, new construction, then demolition and new construction. So there's actually 2 new construction phases and 2 demolition phases as we move through the campus really from south to north to build these new facilities. So it is a very complex, complicated project. And in another agenda item this evening that's on the consent agenda, you'll be considering those projects that we think are best suited for the CM at risk, construction at risk process, of which Garner fits in that category. But in the renovation area that'll support the phased construction, we have the temporary library and temporary CTE lab, as well as we're gonna move the special education classrooms and ALE restroom back into the same space that they used to be in a number of years ago. So the area just needs to be rehabilitated to receive those spaces back. And then there's a family counselor officer that supports the special education program. Now, this is how the campus looked prior to the 2011 bond. You can see the science addition on the lower right side. You can see the gymnasium complex kind of center to the north. And then you have the rest of the campus in the middle of the screen. We then built our new classroom addition, nestled between those two bookends, as well as a new parking lot next to the football field to give the campus some expanded parking, because the next phase of the project is going to interfere a little bit with their parking and their traffic flow. Now, our next project, which is shown here schematically, is a 56,000 square foot building that's going to be built on the footprint of what's currently the existing classrooms that have now been built new that the campus will be occupying in the fall. You have the fine arts area to the far left, which is closest to Harry Wurzbach, band, orchestra, choir. And across from the fine arts area, right here, is the Black Box Theater, which is next to the stage. Then you have the library area with the distance learning lab. You have the two art classrooms with the kiln and room and office in between. You have the CTE, Family and Consumer Science Lab. You have the kitchen cafetorium with the stage, and this kitchen cafeteria will be exactly the same size of what you saw when you were at the grand opening of the dedication of the Tex Hill Middle School. It'll be that large. Currently, the cafeteria at Garner is about 5/8 the size of the Tex Hill Middle School cafeteria. That's great. Outdoor dining joins the cafeteria dining area facing what would be the bus lane. There's an entrance area specifically for the fine arts area, and there's an entrance area into the cafeteria, and you'll see these corridors kind of end. There's a connecting corridor to the science building, so we have an enclosed connection to science, and then we have corridors that kind of dead end, and that's because they're set up to connect to the Phase 5 project, which is the next bond. So we've already master planned exactly what comes next. That's already done, so that it all connects together at the end of the rainbow. And then over here to the bottom left, we have our existing facilities that we're going to renovate into the temporary library and career and technology lab and the temporary special education and family counseling office area. These are some perspectives that Ms. Rodriguez developed to give you some view of the character of the building. The top view is looking at the entrance to the fine arts area and the outdoor covered dining that adjoins the cafeteria. The
That's
lower
really
view,
neat,
again, is
Mr.
the
Sullivan.
outdoor,
That's really neat.
pretty cool, huh?
Very.
Along with these sunshades, very similar to what we have over our playgrounds. Our sunshade contractor, Dion, is awesome. He has helped us with the Eisenhower sunshade umbrellas, and he's just a very big supporter of our district.
Really, really neat.
And then in the lower, you have the kitchen and the receiving area, as well as another view of the outdoor dining area that adjoins the cafeteria. Then on the next slide, as we wind around the building here, from a courtyard, here are the view of the art classrooms and the library area, and this connects over to, this would be connecting over with a connecting corridor to the science edition. And then the lower view is looking at the fine arts program area from essentially the front of the campus. And you can see some of these buildings that are shown in the light poe-hashed color will be demolished at the end of the project, that are the temporary spaces. We gave the architect a program and a budget to operate to, and you can see here that he's done a good job of staying within our program, 56,150 square feet. And then our renovation area is 7,300 square feet. The numbers aren't exactly identical. We give them a little bit of leniency, but the idea is to keep within about 1% or so of our program. We have $21 million budgeted for this project. $18.5 million of that, which is about 85%, is budgeted in the construction account. And then the other accounts hold the design fees and the FF&E and technology funds. In terms of our schedule, we anticipate 12 months for our designs, which will conclude early February. We'll go through a 3-month process for receiving of bids and contract award back to the board for that. And then a 25-month phase construction schedule, which includes demolition, new construction, concluding in July of 2019, a total period of 40 months from start to end for the project. And this represents the completion of the schematic design phase. The next time we will come back to see you with your approval this evening, pending your approval this evening, will be just to end the design phase and receive your authorization to go out to bid with our construction manager at risk project. And then we'd come back to you in May with our bid recommendation, and then we'd start construction.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
We currently show that we're about $250,000 under budget. We've got about $17.3 million allocated for the main construction, $750,000 for the renovation, and $125,000 for the demolition. And we're recommending this evening your approval of the schematic design for Phase 4. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Sullivan?
2 quick questions.
Yes.
Mr. Wheat?
As somebody who's parked there before, I've parked on the grass out by Wurzbach.
Yes, sir.
Almost every time I've gone to any production. What kind of parking provisions are we going to have that will help to where I don't have to park in the ditch that's out there? I mean, it is a ditch.
Well, I will point out, Mr. Wheat, that since you probably parked out there, we've added this new parking lot at the front. So we've added a number of spaces out here that Garner didn't have before that complements the parking that's here. And we've also added parking along the back of the science building and wrapping around, a little bit of parking that wraps around behind the academic building.
Okay.
And then we also have some parking along the bus loop.
So if you're going from there and you're going up to the presentation in the Fine Arts Building,
Yes, sir.
you would have to walk half a mile or maybe 3/4
If the principal had the gate open here, you could walk right down this covered breezeway, straight in.
Okay. So
It's the
otherwise
best that we can do with what we have, sir.
Right. It's a landlocked facility,
It
kind of
is.
like Lee,
Yes, sir.
where you have no more room to do what you can do?
No, sir. This is what we've tried to be very efficient and make great use of what we have available.
Okay.
We could also consider in the final bond, we probably could add some parking here. We would just have to lose some of these trees. We could build a lot just like this here. It'd be more trapezoidal. That's certainly a possibility, and we could even add some more parking right here.
Save the trees and just park around it.
Well, that's what we've done before.
Yes, sir.
I've parked out there quite a few times. I
But
was just
this-
asking
I
about
know-
parking because every time it becomes an issue. I mean, even with an 8th grade basketball game, even with an 8th grade girls basketball game. Well, I didn't mean girls or boys, but especially the girls. The girls have more people coming to see them. That's where we run into problems, and that's where the parking comes in to be an issue.
Yes, sir.
But-
This parking lot that we did build in the front, in the current bond project has helped alleviate some of it, but it hasn't been a complete miracle like we've transformed all the parking problems at Garner with
So-
one project.
Essentially, you've added more spaces, though.
We
correct?
have added more spaces.
Okay.
It's about, I want to say about 70 spaces overall.
Okay. And the ditch has been eliminated.
And the
Well,
one-
The ditch is still there.
The ditch
You
is,
can't get rid of the ditch.
this is the Salado Creek. We did
yeah.
an improvement project there, and now that we finished our project, the
I have a
county has
truck.
decided to do an improvement project to the ditch to complement our project. But their project runs north and south along the entire creek bed, not just in front of Garner Middle School.
Okay, so as a landlocked facility, you feel comfortable with what we're doing?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Okay,
And I
thank
think
you.
we can make some improvements in the next bond as we complete the project with parking.
Thank you.
Any additional questions?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Wheat? Mr. White, I'm sorry.
if I understand correctly, while this construction is going on, classes will be continued at this campus?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They're going to be occupying the brand-new academic building that we just finished.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any additional questions? I do have one question, but I believe it might be for Mr. Villarreal regarding budgetary consideration. Would you please remind me about the reimbursing resolution to fund these project requirements? I know we've discussed it.
I think I can help.
Oh, that's fine. Okay.
I've met and worked very carefully with Dan and also Brian Moy and his staff, and I know exactly how the bond's gonna roll out. And so I've gone to Dan and said, this is how much money you need to have available through commercial paper to carry us until such time as you make your first bond sale. And we've kind of planned for late summer, July, August timeframe for our first bond sale. And in the meantime, he's got money reserved to pay for the artificial field project
Okay.
and the design fees and the smaller projects that, like Eisenhower and other projects that are gonna be happening and starting before we get to the first bond sale. And he's got it all worked out. We've got a good plan.
Okay, good. Thank you for that, for explaining that to us. Additional questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the schematic design for the Garner Middle School campus replacement Phase 4 project and authorize the full development of design and construction documents for this project?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Wheat. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. White. Any additional questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
You're very welcome.
Next item.
E, consent. 1, business services. A, budget amendment 2. B, National Joint Powers Alliance interlocal agreement. C, bid items. 2, operations. A, 2015 bond program, upgrade high school football fields to artificial turf, and replace existing artificial turf at Commonlander Stadium, approval of final project GMP. B, district-wide concrete, site work, and asphalt pavement repair, indefinite delivery quantity services contract bid award approval. C, 2015 bond program, Clear Spring Elementary School re-roofing and roof-related work project schematic design approval. D, 2015 bond program, Lee High School re-roofing and roof-related work project schematic design approval. E, 2015 bond program, Eisenhower Middle School cafeteria, dining room expansion and campus library replacement construction document and bid delivery method approval. F, 2015 bond program, construction manager at risk, bid delivery method approval for Tier 1 projects. G, professional services contracts, construction contracts, and related contract amendments supporting the 2011-2015 bond programs, design and construction requirements. 3, minutes from November and December 2015 and January 2016. 4, end of consent.
Thank you, Mrs. Huey. Is there a board member wishing to remove an item from the consent agenda?
Yes, ma'am, I'd like to pull the minutes, please.
Okay. Thank you.
Can we approve just November, December, and hold just
I don't see. Okay. So can I have a motion? Mrs. Huey, would you like to make that motion?
I move to approve all of consent except for the minutes from November, December 2015 and January 2016.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Huey. There can be no discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries. Next item.
We're back to 3, the minutes from November, December 2015 and January 2016. With your approval, ma'am, I'd like to move that we approve November and December 2015, and we'll hold January till next meeting.
Okay, so a motion has been made by Mrs. Huey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Wolf. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries. Thank you. Next item.
8, reports. A, financial statement, review of expenditures.
And these reports have been provided to us. Next item.
9, matters from the floor.
Okay. The trustees welcome comments from members of the public during this time of the meeting. Generally, board members do not respond to public comment during the meeting, although members may request further information or a future agenda item on a matter raised during public comment. As explained fully in the board's written procedure for this time, the matters from the floor portion is a limited public forum. Accordingly, speakers may present on a topic related to district business for up to 5 minutes, but are not permitted to make personal complaints about an individual staff or board member that should be raised using the district's grievance policies, a personnel action, a student disciplinary matter, a complaint about a particular student, or pending litigation. Any person who persists in speaking on these topics after being directed not to do so will lose the remainder of their time to speak and may lose their privilege of addressing the board at future meetings. We also welcome written comments at any time, either through email at board@neisd.net or by mail, care of the Superintendent's Office at 8961 Tesoro Drive, 6th floor, San Antonio, Texas, 78217. Mrs. Huey? And if, when we call on you, if you could just please say your name and address. Thank you.
Selena Valdez.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Gotardi, executive staff, and guests. My name is Selena Valdez. My address is 9033 Arrow Street. As president of the Northeast Education Association, we would like to share a presentation on student discipline. May I ask our Northeast Education Association Treasurer and Secretary, Elizabeth Martinez and Jack Louisier, to provide each school board member with a copy. The presentation does begin with general information as a whole, but then is separated by high school cluster so that each board member may focus on their specific district. In February 2015, the Northeast Education Association presented information and data that showed the lack of equity of campus behavior management plans. We found the amount of campus discipline management plans were so many in Northeast ISD among the 67 campuses that there was no possible way to Northeast leadership to monitor and enforce these plans consistently. Northeast Education Association is happy to announce, in response to last year's presentation, foundation committees were created and established at every campus this 2015-16 school year. And when meeting with executive staff, it was stated one of the goals of the foundation committee is to create a common language or terms with concern to student discipline. This presentation focuses on how Foundations is performing and perceived this current year. Well, Northeast Education Association was happy to work with administration to administer our survey. We were only authorized to send our survey to Northeast Education Association members. Out of our 651 teacher members, 416 responded to the survey. The first few pages show general data, which clusters and which type of schools are assigned. After that, the clusters are listed in order of number of responses received, with Roosevelt receiving the most responses, then Lee, Madison, Churchill, MacArthur, Reagan, and Johnson. Another, which includes the alternative school and special programs. While only the Churchill cluster acknowledged implementations of foundations, others have been told about it, but not given an opportunity to ask questions or have any input. Teachers are a great resource in problem resolution. However, teachers need to be valued and given an opportunity to give input that will be taken seriously. One of the most troubling patterns throughout all clusters is the lack of administration support when it comes to teachers needing support to maintain effective classroom management. There are many comments that administrators find fault when teachers, when writing referrals or sending students to the office versus dealing with the student that is disrupting the learning of 25+ students. Lack of consistency in dealing with school-wide discipline, teachers writing referrals and never receiving a copy of the completed referral or follow-up from administration, including a comment, "It is none of the teacher's business what happens to a student when sent to the office." Campus administration in the Johnson cluster stated at the beginning of the year that they would not be available to help teachers with discipline, as students need to trust them. Across the board, teachers feel that campus administration needs more training and support from executive staff in dealing with student discipline. As teachers are more and more left to dealing with major disruptions in the classroom, teacher and student assaults, and lack of a campus administration support, morale is plummeting. Forcing teachers to monitor after-school detention, which occurs after the teacher's contractual day without additional compensation, is happening in the Lee cluster and is an unacceptable solution, which also creates poor morale. We challenge each of you to spend time in a classroom, and we will be happy to recommend a classroom. Until you see firsthand the student discipline challenges faced by classroom teachers, there will be no change. Lastly, one of the focuses from last year's presentation was professional development requested by teachers in regard to student discipline. We asked the same question this year, and that information is also shared by cluster. Northeast Education Association would like to see the district create and provide these professional developments for teachers in the upcoming 2016-17 school year. Thank you.
Greg Link.
Madam President, members of the board, guests, thank you for letting me speak tonight. I am the proud father of a daughter that graduated from Lee High
Mr.
School.
Link, could you just state your name exactly and your address, please?
Greg Link, 7729 Marigold Trace.
Thank you, sir.
As I said, I'm a proud father of a daughter who graduated from Lee High School, and it's a wonderful school. We are very proud of Lee. We're proud of my daughter and all of the wonderful experiences she had. She went to the school with many kids of many backgrounds, white, Hispanic, black, Jewish, Catholic, Protestants. My daughter had parts in plays, the many productions. If you haven't been to Lee and gone to their productions, you should go. They are absolutely fantastic, and we go every year to every one. We continue to support Lee. It's a wonderful high school. Surely we can honor this school with a better name that we can be proud of than Robert E. Lee. Who was Robert E. Lee? He was a skillful general. He was a top graduate of a military academy, an exceptional officer. At the start of the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln asked him to provide his many skills to fight for the Union cause. Instead, Robert E. Lee willfully chose to offer his vast talents to effect the destruction of the Union in order to preserve slavery for his beloved state, Virginia. 640,000 people died in the Civil War, more than all of our other wars put together. What kind of a place would our country be if General Robert E. Lee had succeeded? Would we be two countries today? One freedom, one slavery? It's impossible for me to envision that, because I think part of being civilized is to do away with slavery. So there are many things to think about. Maybe we'd have merged back together at considerable expense. What was slavery like back then? The fears of the slave insurrection led to radical restrictions on gatherings, travel, and of course education, which is paramount to the people in front of me today. The ignorance of slaves was considered necessary for the security of the slaveholders. By the year 1836, the public education of all African Americans was strictly prohibited. It is not natural for mankind to willingly be made a slave. For slavery to work, the slave must be beaten in submission and kept ignorant. This was the America that Robert E. Lee was fighting for, or should I say the South. Robert E. Lee waged war to disallow African Americans their right to a public education. I would like to know why you would honor this man. Why would you name a high school after this man? You are members of the Board of Education. I assume you have some imagination, and I assume you are promoting education. I would ask you to try to imagine what it would be like to be an African American and walk up the stairs of Robert E. Lee and be confronted with a man whose goal was to prohibit your ancestors the right to learn how to read and write as well as yourself. Surely you can imagine this. You try to imagine how you would feel. I think that in closing, I would like to just mention that the Gettysburg Address, the first sentence says, 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. That ideal meant equal rights, equal justice, equal opportunity. So once again, I think Robert E. Lee, that fantastic high school my daughter went to that I love and support, deserves a better name. I would like you to take the high road and think about all of this, and on your watch, the board members would initiate a movement to try to change the name to something better. We've eliminated the flag pretty much throughout the United States that everybody sees on a pickup truck, and they know exactly that Southern symbol of hate and what it stands for. Americans together work together, and first they are Americans. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts if we all work together rather than consider ourselves parts of one race or another. Thank you for listening to me.
And that's all.
Thank you, Mrs. Huey. Next item.
10, discussion and possible action regarding board member requests for items to be placed on a future agenda and/or requests for reports from the administration.
Do I have a board member who wishes to have an item placed on a future agenda and/or a report from the administration? Okay. Next item.
11, adjournment.
And the time is 7:44. Thank you very much.